Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. My name is Bob and I'm here at VARO Productions studio in Amsterdam, and I want to talk about how you, with your own vocal, can create your own choir. Yes, you heard that right. I'm not a professional singer and I want to show you that you, with your own vocal can do the same as I'm doing. It takes a little bit of work, and also for yourself, like the recording process and how to then eventually mix it and everything takes a little bit of work, but once you understand it, it's actually pretty easy and you can do really cool things with this. Alright, so let's jump right in. As you can see, I have a particular track here that sounds like this. And as I was jamming along with the guitar, I felt like, it could be really cool together with then the vocal that will eventually be on there to have some sort of backing vocal, but as a choir, and I don't have a choir, and I don't, like, there are certain plugins that do it, but I don't find myself having the flexibility as I have with my own process. So first of all, if you have a track and if you have none of these here lined up already, let me go back to the basics. First of all, you would have to create a couple of tracks. I'll start with 10 audio tracks. Just open them up, and then down here you select your correct input and your correct output, which is normally already set the right way. You might have to change your input depending on your interface and your I/O settings, but basically you start with just one track that you record enable. You plug in your microphone, you do your sound check, make sure you have enough gain, that the gain is not going into red here, but also it's not too low, so somewhere a nice in between. And then whenever you're gonna start recording something, especially for this part, I prefer to set a loop from, in this case, from 86 to 93. And once it's at the end, it will start playing all over again. And the cool part is, once you're recording something, it will automatically start creating layers. There are different ways to create layers yourself. I'll probably make another video of that. But once you're recording in a loop and you constantly keep doing your vocal, it will create the layers automatically. Alright, so I'm just gonna go back to what we had before here. There you go. These are all the different parts that I already recorded. I already edited some of them and used Melodyne because, again, I'm not a singer, so I had to use Melodyne to make sure everything is a little bit better in pitch. And I also didn't, to be honest, spend a lot of time doing Melodyne because I just wanted to have a bunch of vocals together and create a nice choir. So first of all, again, going back to the recording part of your vocals, if you're recording in a loop, it will show up like this, and you'll see on the bottom that there's all these different lines here, and as you, depending on where you go, depending on actually which take you choose, you'll see the audio changing. Alright, so basically all those takes, you can open up a different one every time, and I copy each audio file on a different track. I keep recording on one channel, keep going until I have like 4 to 6 different takes that you will be able to see here. And once you have done that, you can still create more audio channels and just copy a different take on each different channel. And also what is really cool is that you'll hear that each take, and again, in the beginning, might not sound as good, but we're going to go through the process so you'll hear what it sounds like. But I also have vocals in a different harmony, or just an octave lower, and those are the things that you can manage to do with keyboard, or if you play a certain instrument, or you have some way of recognizing certain pitch, you might be able to do that. And if not, you can still try this out with Melodyne by just dragging to a certain place where you feel, alright, this sounds good, and then still you're going to re-record that, memorize the certain melody, which is just basically 2 different pitches here, so it's really nice and simple. And then you lay down those tracks, and then you do the exact same thing, record a couple of takes, copy them on a different channel, and then you go from there. All right, so again, to start with, I have my two vocals here, but I have many other ones. I have, to give you a few examples, everything is still mono. We'll get back to that later. And once you have all your different tracks, all your different harmonies laid out, you can select a track and open it up in Melodyne. Once you've done that, again, I've covered this in a few other videos as well. I don't like to spend a lot of time on this because I'm in the creating process and I want to get a result as good as soon as possible, because I'm obviously doing multiple things in the song. So I select everything, or you just go to macros, correct pitch, and then I just dial it all the way up to make sure it's closer to the correct pitch here. And also, if you know the key of your song, you can also research your key and on Google, and if you don't know which notes are part of it, you can look it all up there to make sure you're selecting the right one. Here on the left side you see the E, and here the D and the G and the F sharp. Alright, so then basically let me see if I can remove Melodyne and start over to show you what I'm doing. Alright, remove Melodyne. So you select everything. I hit Command M. And let me try and... Can I undo this? Not really sure how that works, but I can just dial it back like this, and you'll see this is where it used to be. And then I dial it up to make sure it gets closer to the correct pitch. And if you see one that's down there, you can just drag it up there to make sure you have your consistency. Alright, so and I do that pretty much for every other vocal. And what I also do besides the pitch correction is select everything, and here pitch tool, select pitch modulation tool, and just flatten out the vibrations a little bit. Again, this is all just pure flavor and preference and whatever you like. If you want to have it as natural as possible, do you want to tune it completely all the way, take out all the vibrations, vibrato, it's totally up to you. All right, so then going back to the track, you have recorded all your different tracks, you have done the Melodyne part or whatever other software, if you use Antares for example, you have done your vocal tuning, you're ready to go. There are a few different options to go about this. You can keep it as a mono file and pan one to the left, pan one to the right. You can have ones that are a little bit more towards the middle. But what you can also do is make these separate mono files stereo by using a plugin that I love very much for different purposes. Let me see here. Sound Toys, and I'm just gonna take one to start with, drag the micro shift, put it as an insert on one of the vocal channels. I'm just gonna mute those, and you'll hear that this one is now stereo. There are a bunch of different presets. You can select one that you prefer. I used Holy Shift before, so I'm just to keep it simple today. And what you can do then, it's actually very easy. You select all the other tracks and you drag that plugin onto the other channels, because you know it's the same preset now on every other channel. Then once you listen to everything, you'll hear that everything is right away stereo. Again, I'm going to go over a few different options when it comes to panning, but this is already a good start. And then especially not to forget, certain parts that you sing, as you can see also based on the waveforms, are louder than others, depending on how far you are, what kind of voice that you use. And it's also important that besides everything that you're going to do afterwards, and all the effects or reverbs or whatever you're going to put on it, that you also manage your volume balance. Because first of all, to start with, Basically, take it back. Just take it channel by channel and you start adding vocals and you look for the balance that you like. Again, I'm going to keep using the micro shift now, but again, you're totally free to not use this pan to the left, pan to the right, but also there you'll have to find your balance, all right? All right, next. All right, this is a good enough balance to start with. Then I have all my different tracks playing together. And then the next part, I'm gonna first finish how I, would do it in a very simple way, and then I'll show you some more advanced tips and tricks that you can also apply to give it even more ear candy, more flavor, and whatnot. Then the next thing that I'll do is I'll send all of those to a bus, which is the green channel. Let me see if I can drag it to the left so you can see it better. All right, perfect. And what I'll do there is do the basics first. EQ, filter off low end, things that you can't hear. I like to use 100 hertz there. It's my go-to for vocals because there's still a lot of energy from a vocal starting around 100. So this is the way to go. But again, use your own preference. If you want to make it sound more thin, drag it more to the right. Or if you want to have it not as steep as I have here. Again, whatever you prefer, all right? So, next thing. After this, there is still quite a little bit of low end. That's a little bit out of balance as I feel it. So what I'll do there is just, again, we started cutting from 100, so I'm just going to trigger that a little bit and just control the amount of bass that's going on there a little bit better. Alright, and then another really cool part and another really cool trick to do and give something a little bit more flavor is to create a band for the high frequencies where you will increase your volume but start compressing these high frequencies. And what this does, it gives you a little bit more air to your sound. And makes it sound more a little bit, makes it sound a little bit more alive, basically. All right. Again, this is very basic. You can tweak all these settings as much as you like. And then another one, just to make sure, because we have a bunch of vocals working together, just for the ease of use here, I didn't go as much into detail. Because basically what I did here, I created a separate session to have all my vocals, and then I export everything as a WAV file, but we'll get back to that in the end. I go to the vocal presets, and there I select a preset that I like just to balance out the frequencies of my choir a little bit more. Alright, and then the next part is the fun part. You can select your own reverb, whatever you like. I have the Pro R here from Fab Filter, but another really good one is the little plate from Sound Toys, or also UAD has a really nice plate reverb. I love to have the tail not too long, basically, so that the tail of the reverb, the decay basically, is almost done before the other vocal comes in. I have a choir hall here as a preset, but again, there are a bunch of different options. You can tweak the EQ and the decay rate of your EQ here. This is the decay rate, and this is basically the EQ. But I'm not going to get into detail too much here, because again, we're trying to make a nice choir here. Alright, and then another really cool thing that I do, well, at least I find that really cool, but I love to use the Foots box by Mac DSP, and what it does is it gives a little bit of distortion and flavor. That's too much. Alright, not too much, just a little bit of flavor. And you can also mess around with certain delays here. Or if you want to have it more simple, you can actually just start with the default one. I love to have my MIDI here on so it sticks to the grid. Alright, so you can do this as crazy as you want it. Alright, this is sounding pretty good, alright? So then if we listen to it in the full song, let me mute this for a second. Also, what you can do as well is use some compression. There we go. Just some peak reduction, not too crazy. I'm missing some of the higher vocals, so I'm starting. Alright, so this is a really cool way how you can create your own choir. And now I'm going to give you a few more advanced tips and tricks here and there. Especially for Studio One, because in the latest release, Studio One 6, they have introduced different panning options, as you can see here. There's balance, dual, and binaural. So what you can do, depending on each vocal, we just disable the sense for now. So you hear this one is in stereo. What you can do is if you put it in binaural, you can still space out things even more as the people would physically be in your space. You know, that's what this panning knob is for. You can decide the width of your binaural panning here. And that way you'll be able to actually position your vocals even more over the stereo spectrum and have maybe, let's say, your more stronger voices coming from the right and your softer vocals coming from the left, while your, I don't know, your more deeper, dark sounding vocal comes more from the middle. You know what I mean? So that way with this panning knob, basically what it does is if it's just on balance, and if the microshift isn't in there, you're taking it from left to right with this panning knob. But if you make it stereo, use dual, this is the first option that you can also use. You can take one of the sides and bring them closer, and also you can still keep it stereo, but a little bit more centered. They used to have a binaural panning knob for this, so maybe you're already doing this. I haven't done this before, so this is new for me, and I'm experiencing this really nice feature. This also might give you the option to just space things out a bit more, besides just making everything stereo. at the same time. And then the next option that we have is the binaural mixing knob that is standard, obviously in the middle and on 100%. If you double click on it, a window will open up, and there you'll see, oh, again, going back to this vocal only. Comes really close, you know what I mean? And while 0 is just mono. Wherever you take it, the more you start increasing that, the more binaural width you'll start adding to it. You can take your other vocal, also put this in binaural. And you can do this with any other vocal. Again, this is another way of making your vocal stereo. This is whatever sound you prefer. Putting the micro shift on there just makes it stereo, does the same thing with all the channels. But with this these panning options, you can still decide if you want to take certain things a little bit more left, a little bit more right, a little bit closer to your ears, a little bit further away from your ears. And the cool part is you can also do the same thing for your reverb. If you have a reverb on there, if you click on the right side of your reverb, like this, you can also make your reverb binaural, which is really cool. Again, this gives you a lot of flexibility. And then the last thing that I wanted to show you was that if on the vocal itself, depending on, let me just bring these back to the normal ones that we had in the beginning. Let's disable these plugins. This one, for example. If you want to add certain more life to your sound, you can also take this Pro MB multiband compressor and put it on the channel itself. Excuse me, this one. I love a fast attack and fast release to give as much air as possible. And you can do this with the ones that lack a little bit of the high end, because whatever you're doing on the bus, it's applying on all your different vocals. So again, these are things that you can spend a lot of time on, but it really just depends on how much time you want to spend on it. You can do all these panning on options and can start panning things from left to right and do all this crazy stuff, but then in the end, you have to ask yourself, like, is it really adding any value to your song, obviously, in the end? And when it comes to panning and binaural, doing this in binaural, for example, will make it sound more, what do you call it? More, I don't know what I call it, maybe more distant from the track, like an extra layer that comes a little closer to your ears, depending on how strong you go with your binaural width. But yeah, again, the easy and the simple version is you create one audio channel, you record your vocal in a loop over and over and over and over again, so you have 4 to 6 different takes from one and the same vocal and pitch that you're doing, basically. Then you take all the different takes, put it on a separate channel, as I've done here. You record it here, put it on those other channels, do it with another vocal, copy your other takes onto another channel. Once you've done that, open up Melodyne on every track, Studio One has had this integration for a very long time, which is really cool. So you can just double click or right click and go to edit with Melodyne, or you see the shortcut here as well. Start editing it here with your macros, correct pitch, and your pitch drift tool. Once everything is done, find a nice preset for the micro shift, but I think also Isotope has the imager, which is gonna do the same thing. Again, it gives you a little bit of a different flexibility. Make things stereo. You can still use your panning knobs to make them go more left, more right, and then send everything to a bus where you can do your reverb, do a little bit of EQ, and compress everything a little bit so it sits well in the mix. Yeah, that's basically how you create your own choir. So again, if we listen to everything now in the full mix. Again, I just started experimenting with this recently. I'll probably learn a lot more in the future. If you've been doing this, please tell me how you find this, what your approach is, or if you have any particular questions about this, please feel free to ask them as well. Yeah, and this was the video for today. I really appreciate you watching my videos, and if you haven't subscribed yet, and if you love these videos, you're more than welcome to subscribe to my channel and like it as well, because that again helps me to reach more people like yourself that, you know, I might be able to help with these videos. Again, there is not one right answer to do these things. This is just the way how I approach it, and it probably will change in the future, and also depending on the song you're working on. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any things you would love to see in another video, you're more than welcome to comment them down below, and I'll be more than happy to make another video on whatever subject that you guys need help with. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.